much for being here. We do appreciate it. This is our civics class at RFK. They will talk to you about the littering issue here in our community. And first to start, we have Chandani, Alicia, and Jason, who will talk to you about the data that we found in the survey.
Hello everyone. I would like to say thank you so much for coming to our town hall meeting. It's amazing to see there's so much support for our case. Our civics class gathers you here today to address the issue of littering.
32.8 people in our community survey report others littering daily. 82% believe outside was the most litter. 59% believe increased public units would help with efforts.
So here is some data that we collected from the survey that we gave to the people in the community. About 88% believe that littering is an issue, and surprisingly about 38% witness people littering on a daily basis. About 82% of people see most amount of littering on our streets and on our sidewalks.
As you can see behind me, about 74% believe that fines for littering would be effective. About 67% of people who litter did it because there weren't trash cans nearby. Lastly, about 79% believe that having more trash cans and cleanup events would reduce littering.
As you can see from the photos behind me, we took these on our community walk that we had in October, and they really illustrate how prevalent the issue is.
Thank you so much, ladies. Next, as we segue, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Randazzo. He is our biology and environmental science teacher. And our students, Ishak, Oswaldo, and Alex, who will talk about the impact of littering on our students.
Oh wow, hi guys. So, as you know, sometimes I get up there and play music on the stage, have jam sessions, but we had a jam session this past week with the three fellas here, and what we decided to go after was certain types of litter, specifically one-way plastics, but I'll let the guys tell you what we kind of uncovered with our conversation.
Yes. So please look at the board. So these are the different types of litter we discussed. Biodegradable, non-biodegradable, one-way plastics, compost, and storing waste. So each of these topics are what we'll be discussing in the following slides.
Okay, so biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Biodegradable litter, right, is not as harmful to the environment as biodegradable litter. Now, what we're saying is that, say, fruits, vegetables, even paper, the one that you use to write with, is biodegradable. So it will, over time, it will decompose and create fertile soil.
It's composted.
It's compostable, yes. Non-biodegradable is where the issue lies in. Things like glass, metal, tin, and plastic are really harmful to the environment because while they do break down, they do it at a much lower rate. It could take hundreds of years for a piece of plastic to break down and do the same as a biodegradable type of litter.
This is the one that we picked to really zero in on. We kind of said it like we all have some sort of plastic addiction. You know, if you look at your phone, or the toothbrush you use, or maybe the container that your food comes in, or even the car that I drove here today has a lot of plastic in it. And so we kind of put that first bullet point to say that, you know, we use it in our everyday life. It's even in products that we use. And so some of these like exfoliating face scrubs or things like that, if you've ever seen them on a shelf or used them, you know, it's got micro beads, sometimes plastic. They're called one-way plastic. So this was sort of the environmental villain that we decided to target, that we thought would be the most, something we could make the greatest impact on. And so I guess when we do neighborhood cleanups or walks, we would specifically look for these one-way plastics that can't be recycled. For example, some of the food containers or the things that you might think are recyclable but really aren't.
You're looking at microplastics. So if you go into your everyday deli or bodega and you see that plastic water bottle, when the sun, the UV rays shine on those water bottles, it actually breaks down the chemical plastic a little bit, creating microplastics in your water. And you're drinking that every single day. So here is to the ecosystem and the impact. But I also want to talk a little bit about your own body. It impacts your hormones. It impacts your body. Mr. Renazzo was telling me earlier that they find microplastics in your brain and other parts of your body. And how does that get there? Huh?
Yeah.
And that's because of microplastics. Yeah.
One of the things that made me think of was my just everyday things that you do, is just cutting up food. I do that every weekend. I make 5 lunches, 5 breakfasts. It sounds kind of crazy. But this weekend recently, after having our jam session, I realized I cut everything up on a plastic cutting board. And you might think it looks like it's intact, but then you start, after kind of talking to them, that's where I was like, wow, yeah, they really did hit on something with this whole microplastic thing. And so even something like a cutting board could shave off little bits of plastic that you don't know are even there. And then you go ahead and eat that lunch like I did just last period. And maybe that's how it gets there. So to that point, I just wanted to add on to that. I mean, you know, we could talk about the ecological effects. I think something that we didn't put in the slide, but something we always talk about in the environmental classes, and I'm going to show you at some point we can get there, is like certain ocean currents, like these circular patterns, like the Great Pacific Gyre. It's like this ocean current, which we'll look at, Pacific Ocean. And it was like some stat that I saw, I think it was in one of the documentaries we watched a long, long time ago, but I think it said the plastic particles floating out there outnumbered the plankton, which is like the base of the food chain, like at a 10-to-1 ratio. You know, so when they were studying, you know, what's floating around in the ocean, I think the obvious like ecological impacts, yeah, they do autopsies on seagulls, that kind of thing. You're going to find plastic in their gut. They mistake these floating particles for food. Is it costly to clean water? Some filters, I think, maybe under the sink, which I know I have, may or may not claim to filter out microplastics. But really the main thing that I think we talked about was how could RFK like really get involved. And I guess really if you're doing cleanups around the neighborhood, I think we kicked around Earth Day as an example. Maybe we could look for these one-way plastics, you know, get them in the right bin. You might not be able to change it on a policy level. Like we talked about the container that you get your food in. They're not recyclable, right? So they're going to separate those and they're going to toss them. So maybe if you see something like that on the street, and something else we said, what do we see on the ground a lot when you walk around RFK? E-cigarettes. People toss those on the ground all the time, a bottle cap. Any kind of plastic litter, I just thought maybe it would be a good starting point for these guys to sort of hone in on. That's it.
Thank you so much, guys. So with all of that, Chris, Jeffrey, and Adam here decided that they wanted to do a little bit more digging and a little bit more data inquiry into how this looks for our immediate community.
Alright, well, I'm pretty sure everybody here hates rats and probably are disgusted by them. And on this map, we can see here, those green areas are inspections that have been done and that have been passed, but those pink areas around the school are inspections that have not passed due to rats that have been populating around that area. Now that table is
a list or a history about all the past inspections that have been done around the area of our school, and the majority of them have not passed due to rat activity.
As you can see in the picture behind me, littering has heavily affected our community. Even in train stations, there's so much littering, especially when you take the Long Island Railroad. And even in our community walk, we noticed that even though there's a couple of blocks, there's like trash cans, there's still a problem with littering beyond the street. But if you look at the next slide, Jamaica Estates, it's a lot more cleaner area, which is a complete contrast to what Flushing is. And with the next slide, you can see that in our community, on the right, 11366, the typical home value is 1.043 million with an increase rate of 5.3. But if you look at Jamaica East State, which is a lot less littering, it's 1.1 million with 7.3 increase rate.
So with all these efforts, with all these issues, you have to expect there should be efforts to be made. And in 2023, the Department of Sanitation has enacted steps to put all trash into containerized garbage cans, which means with containerized garbage cans, there wouldn't be plastic bags of trash laying around, which could potentially attract more rats. And in the fiscal year of 2023, there have been efforts to be made to place cameras in certain areas where litter is prone and prevalent, in order to hopefully to catch other people from, to dissuade other people from littering. And Senator a Queens Councilwoman also has provided funding of $134,000 to combat the growing issues of littering. And with all these efforts, one would expect that these efforts would help reduce the issue of littering. But from 2023 to 2024, there has been an increase of 26% in the complaints for littering, which suggests that the efforts are being made, but there has not been enough efforts to combat the growing issues of littering.
Gordon, Chaim, and Jaden to talk about some of the community cleanup efforts.
So, hi everybody. It is so nice and so heartwarming to see so many people interested in something so important in our lives, right? In our everyday lives. Mr. Randazzo made a really good point. Like the microplastics that are in our bodies, we don't even realize. There's studies that are done where there's fecal matter, like actual poop, where people have tons of plastic all over the world. It's not just the U.S. It's not just RFK. It's not just in our neighborhood. So, I really appreciate just seeing everybody here. So thank you to the civics class and to everybody involved doing this really important talk.
So before we start with Ms. Regula sharing her experiences, I want to go back to what we talked about with our community walk on October, and just show you just how much trash we managed to capture on photo that day. And while it wasn't like a major issue where it's like heaps and heaps of trash everywhere, you will still see signs of trash on every corner, every block. It doesn't matter where you go around this area, you'll find trash, you'll find people putting their trash bins in the middle of the sidewalk where they shouldn't be. You'll find dead animals that should have been removed ages ago but aren't. And yeah, you can see that it is a very big issue. But that doesn't mean there aren't any efforts being made, such as Ms. Regula's environmental cost.
Thank you. Yeah. So what we did was, and it was a small start, and we plan on doing this again. New York City Public Schools has the Sustainability Coordinator title, and one of the action days was called Waste. So my environmental science class decided, hey, why don't we do a neighborhood cleanup? So it's interesting because we now can join forces and make this such a bigger event. So we went in November on a neighborhood walk. We had some pincers so we could grab some garbage. We had some gloves and some garbage bags. And we walked away from here to the playground. And I don't remember the street right now. It's like right across the street from Aaron's, the supermarket. There's a playground there. From here to there, we collected 14 bags of garbage off the street, just picking, as we were walking. And the alarming thing was, there were things that were pretty dangerous on the street as well. Like there was, from random things like metal pipes, like actual little pieces of metal pipes on the floor that were just there. We found some like drug vials, which were not good. We threw those out. We saw a whole bunch of different plastic containers from food, McDonald's, and like Chinese food store, like different containers, plastic bags, paper everywhere. So we ended up in the playground. And one of the nice things was, the community appreciated it. There were parents that were in the playground with their children who, as soon as they saw 40 teenagers walk into the playground, they were like on high alert, like what's going on? So I approached some of the parents because they were like looking very cautiously. And I was like, we're not here for any trouble. We're here to clean up the park. And they were so thankful, so grateful that their kids who are running around the playground can now have a cleaner place to like play in the park. So it was really heartwarming. We also ran into the Parks and Recreation people there. Mr. VJ was there, which I really appreciated. He was a very integral part of this cleanup as well. And we joined forces with the Parks and Recreation, and we also did a little bit of composting, right? We picked up 8 bags of leaves and like fertilizer, like different things that were biodegradable, and separated those bags as well. So that was our, I don't know if there's anything else. So we did the community walk. We also did around our school, like outside of our school, which I have to say, we do have people, like our staff here that does clean. So the outside of our school was not as bad because we have people that go up and down and clean all day. As I come into school every morning, I see Mr. Pablo, picking up garbage and separating it. So it is nice, but it would make such a bigger impact if we all appreciated and did our part and not threw something out, where it shouldn't be thrown out. And that's, I think,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So not to just leave things and say this is all bad, we also wanted to present to you some suggestions of things that we can do as a community if we come together to improve the look and just the well-being of our community. So Alexa and Vernesi will walk you through those suggestions.
Okay, so our first suggestion was to add more trash bins. So Alexa and I actually went after school last week, and we went from the school to McDonald's trying to count how many trash cans there were. There was one outside of the school, and from that trash can all the way to McDonald's, there wasn't a single one there. So we did figure out, this could be a part of the issue because a lot of the littering is done from the school to McDonald's. If you walk around the Walgreens area, you can see, even in the pictures that were posted before by Ms. Reglas, you can see all the trash. All the trash was thrown in the grass by Walgreens. Then we also came up with the idea to increase awareness. Something such as having posters around the community or in places like the delis or the stores, the community, just like public community places. We also came up with little awareness stations, educational booths next to the bus stop while people are waiting for the bus, or even outside of the school while students are just loitering around. And then lastly, our last solution was community cleanup. So whether that be 2 times a month or every few months, just everyone gathers together and like Ms. Reglas did, we can get other schools around the community to do the same thing.
Alexa. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So we did a survey, as I said before, where we saw that 79.4% of the people who took the survey show through their vote that adding more trash bins would help reduce the littering. Just to go deeper into the trash bin situation, people would become more encouraged seeing more trash bins to throw out the trash rather than they see no trash bins, so it's I'm just going to throw it out the first place I see it.
So another suggestion that we had is to increase awareness. So 59% of people that were surveyed said that they would like to see more public signage and education campaigns. So educational booths are a great direct way to engage and raise awareness about the importance of not littering and the environmental impact of waste. So these booths would include interactive things such as games, visual displays, or quizzes. And adding posters around trash bins can spread awareness of the danger of littering and serve as a visual reminder for people that littering is very bad. So these posters can include pictures of garbage, walking up sewage systems, or garbage infested with rats. So the posters would show negative effects of littering in a universal language, so it doesn't matter what language you speak. The imagery and symbols can make the message accessible to most. And so educational booths and posters would be placed in high foot traffic areas to capture pedestrians' attention, encouraging them to reflect on their behavior, making better decisions moving forward. And then we also have community cleanups, which 79.4% of people surveyed said that they would like to contribute in their community cleanup. This kind of participation is crucial in making a meaningful impact on the environment, inspiring others to join in. So scheduled cleanups would be made possible by partnering up with local community board and local businesses and elected officials. And so we would partner up with politicians and people who have influence. So if people see others in a position of power become engaged in the community, this would also encourage others to get involved. So offering foods like drinks, incentives, and raffles would be a way to get people to participate and improve better collaboration with local businesses. This creates a positive attitude towards cleaning up litter while bringing the community together.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. We will open now. We have some time. So, guys, you can some of you can come back and stay. So we would just like to open it up to you guys if you have questions to our students, or if you want to share your experiences or talk about suggestions, the floor is ours.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalia from Councilmember Gennaro's office.
How are you?
First, good. First, thank you guys so much for inviting our office. It was a very enlightening presentation. So I just wanted to touch base on some of the things that were brought up to give you a sense of how the city actually operates. One of the things that you guys had mentioned was an extra trash bin or extra trash bins. So something that a lot of folks don't know is that trash bins, they do cost money, and a lot of money at that on a city level, because you're not just buying the bin, you're also requiring sanitation workers to add that bin along the route. So sometimes logistically it's not possible, but I would love to get some proposed locations from you guys, and we can go to this Department of Sanitation and try to get some of those bins in those locations. But I just want to tread very cautiously in promises, because there's a lot of logistics that actually go into the placement of the bins when it comes to routes that it may not be feasible. We always love to see community engagement. If you guys do have any community cleanups in the near future, please let us know. We can certainly help to advertise and see if we can send staff. Just lastly, as a note, I know you mentioned Sandra Ung. Our office also does fund cleanup littering services. We do so through an organization called ACE, and also through another group called the Queens Economic Development Corporation. Anyone is welcome to email our office at any time, as long as the location is in our district. I know that this is kind of Sandra Ung's territory and our territory, but so long as it's in our district, we'd be happy to send ACE, which is one of those cleanup groups that we fund, over to help clean that up. And ACE, they're more of like a one-shot deal. You send them to a location, they'll target that location, and then, it's not added to a route, but they can go back to that location more than once. The only contingency or restriction is that it can't be on private property, and it can't be in front of private property. So if you contact our office, I saw some of those photos that look like trash bags placed outside of people's homes. That would not be something that the city would be responsible for cleaning up, because typically that falls on the homeowner. The homeowner is supposed to keep the area outside of their house clean. If not, then enforcement really is an option that we could look at. So if you see trash in front of somebody's home, that's a nuisance and a continued problem, you can call our office, we can file a 311 complaint, and we can look at enforcement as an option. So those are just some things that while I was listening, I wanted to spitball and throw your way, and if you guys have any questions, I'm all ears.
Thank you. Just wanted to add, I know we talked about Earth Day, maybe doing something larger as like a cleanup activity, so would ACE be,
So ACE, I don't know that they participate in like I don't know, I can't guarantee
Yeah.
date, and I don't know that we'd send a whole fleet out for something like Earth Day, but if you're gonna do a cleanup, we can certainly flag that for them, and then we can supplement any other.
okay. Anyone else have questions or comments? Yes?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamela Barat. I'm from the Twins High School Superintendent's Office. And I want to first thank all of you for an amazing, informative presentation. And more importantly, identifying doable next steps that as a community, you can now go out and do. And so I actually have a couple of questions to throw out to the group. My first question to you is, as you mentioned, trash cans, educational signage, and community cleanup as three of the big bucket areas you target. So what are your next steps as a student organization, a student council, a student government, a civics class, and a school, in reaching out to your local businesses to say, hey, Walgreens, we noticed that the largest amount of trash happens to be between the distance from where you're located to our school. So how can you join with us to create some kind of cleanup program? Hey, McDonald's, hey, Aaron's, whomever, right? You've got a lot of businesses. Do they have staff who go out every day and clean up the way the custodians do here around your building? Do you have a plan to communicate with the local elementary school to create a partnership where you can partner with younger students to go out and start to become more community activist-like and train younger folks to do this work as well? And who can provide support for you to create the signages that you are talking about? Where would you place them? Are there legal boundaries on where you can place things and what you can place? And how are you going to be researching that and following up with that? And lastly, what can we do to help you beyond throwing questions and saying we have no money? Because the superintendent's office definitely has no money. Your principal knows that. We usually go to him for money. So as you think about manpower, right? The one thing that we have, all of us have two hands, we have brains. How can we support you in developing a community that takes pride in itself? Because a community that takes pride in itself, and I love that you guys did a comparison of neighborhoods where there isn't a lot of trash and there is a lot of trash. When one takes pride in themselves, right? You dress well, you look well, you are well groomed, a neighborhood is well groomed. So how can you develop that sense of community to become a well-groomed community? What are steps that you can take? And I hear Principal Accardi is going to be leading you into that next semester, so I'm really curious.
Yep. Hi, everybody. So thank you for the great questions. I think there are some great things to focus on. I'm really, really proud of you. So if we could all join.
All right, on that note, I'm going to say thank you. I know the period's going to end in about 2 minutes, and there are a lot of you that have to get to your next period class. So thank you for our audience. Thank you for our visitors for taking the time to be here, and the civics class for bringing us together.